Hi everyone, Byron Martin here at Logis Greenhouses, and today we're going to be talking about one of the fruiting plants that has recently come into our collection and that we've trialed and is performing quite well. We at Logis have spent a great deal of time over these many years collecting plants that actually fruit in pots, particularly tropicals, and we wrote a book a number of years ago called Growing Tasty Tropicals, which encompasses many of the plants that we grow. However, since that time, we've added more plants to our collection that actually fit that bill. And one of them is the Atemoya right here that we've been working on for a number of years to see how it would do in containers. And surprisingly, it's done quite well. Now, this is a plant in the Ananaceae family. The common ones that we know of would be cherimoya. It's a South American one that grows in the higher elevations, so it's not easy to cultivate, but they do grow it in California. And then there's a sugar apple, which is a very easy plant to grow in containers and produces a smaller fruit. And of course, we have the custard apple, typical of tropical areas. However, that really didn't perform very well here at Logis. But this particular one, the Atemoya, which is a hybrid between cherimoya and the sugar apple, has taken on the best characteristics of both in terms of the size of the fruit and also its ability to grow freely in different environments. And we found that it does quite well in containers. This particular plant right here is a young one, which is about 3 years old now from graft. And it's a variety called Jeffner, which is known to be self-pollinating. And as you can see, the fruit here, they're just about ready to ripen. Here we are in the end of January going into February, which is the ripening time of this fruit. In its native habitat, this plant will turn into a very large tree. And to grow it in a container, it can get very large, but it has the ability to be pruned and still thrive. Once this has dropped its fruit, it goes through a resting period. And then in the springtime, and it's usually later than our spring here, sometime in late spring, early summer, it's going to be this flush of growth. And at that time, the plant needs to be headed back. And I would literally probably cut this one down to here, take that whole top off, only because we're trying to maintain this as a small bush rather than a large tree. And when we make the cuts on these stems, wherever they be, there's always buds that are lined up on the back side of this, flower buds, that will actually emerge as we go into summertime. So you can pretty much head this whole thing back randomly, and you'll still have this flush of growth, and you'll have the flowers that will come that will produce next year's fruit. It is also a fairly easy grower in terms of culture. We really don't have any insect problems with it. They're grafted, and the grafts go on to Atemoya or cherimoya rootstock, which has fairly good resistance to root rot, so the root systems stay healthy. And it does benefit from fertilizer. Obviously, the more you give it, the faster it'll grow, so you want to be a little contained on that, so that it doesn't turn into some lush, monstrous plant, but is contained by the restriction of fertilizer. However, feed is necessary to keep the plant green and also to produce the buds and the fruit. One thing about Atemoyas and cherimoyas, and even the sugar apples, is they need to be hand-pollinated. And that's a little bit of a trick that you need to learn, because the pollen on the male flower, male producing flower, it's a perfect flower, but at one time it produces a lot of pollen, another time it's ready to receive the pollen. And you can look at those flowers, which are these drupes that hang down. There's usually 3 petals on them. And late in the afternoon on a sunny day, you can look up inside and you can see all the pollen forming there. A paintbrush, take that off, find the flower that doesn't have that and brush it onto that. And that starts the initiation of pollination. And we go through, we have a paintbrush which we actually stick down in the soil next to the trunk. And when anybody's going through, one of the growers, they take it off in the afternoon and they do the pollination. And by the end of the season, we have a tree full of fruit. So it's very easy to do. You just have to kind of look at it and get the sort of the scheme of how things work, and then you can go forward with it. We do grow them at different temperatures. So we have them in cool greenhouses where it goes down to 40. We also grow them in warm greenhouses. Most of the plants that have gone into fruit, we bring them into warm greenhouses, that being above 60, so that the fruit ripens properly over the winter time. As far as light goes, they're full sun plant like most of our fruiting plants go, and we keep them in a bright sunny or sunlit greenhouse during the wintertime as well in the summertime. So one thing about the fruit is it's delicious. It actually has a flavor of pineapple to it and a little bit of acidity, and it's sweet. So it's really a cherished fruit if you can find them in the store, or even better yet, if you get a plant and you can grow some. To eat it, we generally cut them in half, and as you can see, these black seeds form. They're formed throughout the entire fruit, and you dig into it, eat it, and you can spit them out and eat the pulp around. And you can eat all the way down to the rind. Some of that rind is actually some of the sweeter parts of it. This fruit is not quite ripe, so normally we go in with a spoon and we dig it out. But it was probably needed another maybe week or so to ripen here in the greenhouses. But delicious fruit, and quite a bit actually when you look at the size of it. Well, if you ever get a chance to try a cherimoya or an Atemoya, I highly recommend it. If you'd like more information, visit us at logis.com.